everyone. Today I've got Graeme Oke with us. He's the secretary of the Brimbank Bicycle Users Group, or Brimbank Bug. Graeme's here to talk to us today about what he sees in advocacy and how he does his advocacy in the public. And it's a tough area. So Graeme, I'd like you to introduce yourself.
Sure. So I'm Graeme Oke. I'm 55, I've lived in the Keilor and Brimbank region for around 30 years. Born, bred and raised in Geelong.
What do you do when you're not working on a bug?
Right, okay. So I'm employed still for now. We'll see how we go post this restructure. I've been working at Latrobe for about 12 years. I'm a research librarian. I've been a librarian in universities for about 30 years as well as the bike advocacy. Sort of use my other time, heavily involved with prostate cancer support group, because I'm a prostate cancer survivor 2 years.
But what you can see in the middle of the table right now is a little coffee machine, and the whole idea of that coffee machine is going to actually help me time myself because I can waffle. So Graeme, keeping me away from waffling, what does the Brimbank Bug do? What is Brimbank Bug mainly focusing on at the moment?
Sure. So Brimbug is currently, I guess, advocating for a complete line from Sydenham, I suppose, to the city. The second main thing is been a long-term plan to have a connecting point around Heroic Creek with the former Origin site, to have a linking point there underground or around Ballarat Road.
It looks like it's sounding like it's starting to boil now. Mm-hmm. It's a bit of an enticing thing. You're getting a good view of it. All I can see at the moment is a flame and a pot. With riding around and driving around, obviously you do a bit of driving if you live in Keilor and come all the way over to Latrobe. Have you noticed the increase at the moment in the amount of cars? Every time we come out of a lockdown, it sort of swings straight from bike riders straight to car drivers again, and in fact, in worst case, due to the fact of less public transport being used.
Well, I guess because I've been working from home for almost a year, although there was a period where I was getting to work at Latrobe a couple of days a week, but then we were a COVID level 1 site for a bit there, so we went from that to return to working from home again. But yeah, the traffic, particularly around Plenty Road, is just horrendous back to kind of pre-COVID days. The traffic that you see on the ring road is just horrendous, and against the traffic, and you see how awful it is on the other side of the road.
I've got an hour of footage on my bike today where I took just overtaking cars.
That's
and on normal roads. Hey, I think our coffee's ready.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I've got 3 cups, so I don't want TJ to miss out. TJ, what would you do if you missed out on coffee?
Oh, it's the cameras are recording, so I can't say.
You would quit on me, huh?
Yeah, it would be used as evidence in court.
It must shock you a little bit when you see some of the language that I use sometimes when I do my tweets or my Facebook posts.
No, cool. I go with the flow.
I usually use it purely for shock value because I believe that sometimes the only way to get results, and I've been working with councils for, more than before I was in cycling, even before I was involved in cycling advocacy, and so I use language as shock value to get results. And it's amazing how quickly I do get results because we've seen entire intersections redesigned from pop-up lanes or roads that have been fixed due to bad placement of concrete blocks, etc. As you know, I'm strongly against using bikes to calm traffic, and yet in Victoria, it seems to be the way that they do it. They seem to want to use bikes to calm us or calm drivers.
I mean, if they even realise that, I mean, it's usually after the plan, after the event, that it's sort of then it's the advocacy point to we'll put some paint on the road and that's your lane if you're lucky.
What about moving on now to more about what we can do? What would you do now if you had the opportunity to do whatever you wanted to do? Say we gave you an empty checkbook and said, go nuts, or a full checkbook I should probably say, and go nuts. What would you do inside the Brimbank area?
Well, my bugbear, because of my locality, is Old Calder Highway going down to Keilor Village. It's such a lost opportunity there that they haven't made it more bike friendly, extended the sides to be a proper bike lane, and then continue through Keilor Village and up to over Newton and beyond, to have proper sidings, proper laneage. In a weird ideal world, I don't know how it would be possible, but yeah, to have separation and whatever, because it feels like you're always taking your life in your hands. Like it's such a nice sweeping bend to go down into Keilor Village, but you've got possibility of a bus coming up your bum, you've got possibility of cars attempting to overtake when it's a double line. So officially they can't overtake you, but they will. But if they do overtake you, they're slipping into the oncoming traffic. So it's just awful.
Don't forget with the 2 metre, with the 1 metre, 1 metre rule. My dream was it would be 2 metres. With the 1 metre rule, they can cross a double line in order to go on the other side of the road in order to give you a metre. It just seems that the TAC's really let us down with advertising and promoting that. And what is your feeling about that? What do you feel? Do you feel that the TAC has missed an opportunity in order to educate drivers and safer driving? Or, I mean, I'll put it to you another way. Have you seen anything advertising the 1 metre rule?
I think I was responding to your tweet about that I kind of saw it once in a blue moon on late night TV, or once in a blue moon on around different times of TV shows I was watching, but yeah, next to nothing. And next to nothing of enforcement as well.
Do you think that the 1 metre rule was a good thing to bring in though? Or do you think it was a wasted opportunity where we could bring in better rules or better safety, or what do you think?
Well, I guess we were the last state to actually get some level of legislation in place, so I guess it's good to have something there. So at least, in theory, there's something to point to and something to argue about, that it's so unaddressed, so unknown.
Brimbank's a big area too, isn't it? It's
Huge.
Keilor, Taylor's Lakes, Sunshine. You were saying it goes all the way down to Bay.
Sydenham, Deer Park, Braybrook, Sunshine, Albion, name a suburb. It's a big area.
Essendon Cyclery, of course, is next LGA over Maribyrnong, I assume that's in. And then you've got the.
I think in the complete city of Brimbank, I think there might be just one bike shop. I think that's Ray's Bike in Braybrook.
In Braybrook.
And that's about the only one. Then everything else is sort of Newbury or whatnot. So,
being such a large area, do you think that you're neglected in budget for getting cycleways out there? I mean, everyone knows it's the Wild West. Everyone calls it the Wild West. I'm assuming, do you call it the Wild West?
No, I don't.
You don't? Do you think it's a little bit more tame, or do you think it gets a bad rap in advocacy? Because I mean, in advocacy, when we talk about the western suburbs, we do talk about it being the Wild West and more close passes and more, but the stats don't prove that, but it just feels like it. So what's your opinion on that? It's not the Wild West? Why would you say it's not the Wild West? Or
I'd like to be more of a western suburb advocate than just join into the stereotype or join in the bash the West kind of conversation. But I can get what you're talking about in the sense of the feeling of neglect. I guess it's often the point in case that people are quick to jump to where a safe seat, not a marginal seat, and so you can advocate and say all you like, but I guess generally it's seen as a very safe seat, and so can continue to be underfunded. The requirement to have to keep on asking and get neglected in a sense feeling, and see a lack of signage, a lack of recovery, a lack of care, a lack of consideration, and you go for a ride in the city or go for a ride to the east or southeast and you do kind of like, how can they have that and we have nothing or very little? So it is easy to sort of jump onto that bandwagon of the Wild West or the neglected West, but I'd like to think it's not quite like that.
The last thing I was going to ask you about is the old Ballarat Road. Have they done any improvements? Because I used to have to use Ballarat Road, and I'm talking about 30 years ago now. And even the last time I was up Ballarat Road, it still was nowhere for bikes to go, no way around that area. And what we've found in the last 12 months is people want to shop local, they want to ride local. They want to ride down to the shops, they want to ride. They seem to forget that people live on these roads and have to use these roads regardless.
And yet they've done a certain amount of infrastructure and development in more the heart of Sunshine. So like you come up one of the main roads there to Ballarat Road, you're like, where would you go once you got there? I guess part of advocacy and part of living within what you refer to as the Wild West has been more a realisation of alternative routes and becoming, I guess, an advocate, or at least attempting to make the noise of, well, what are the alternatives to the major roads? It just sort of feels too hard to try and attempt to make even those busy roads, or as you're saying, okay, yeah, there are people that live on those major roads and need to get places. I guess part of what I've learned is sort of more, what are the alternative routes, or what are the safer routes, or once you become a little bit more knowledgeable about that, about then attempting to pass that information on.
Do you think we should be allowed to ride on footpaths in the outer suburbs?
Definitely, yeah. It's crazy.
It's a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
Well, it's crazy to think that, that you could be fined, what is it, 135 or
175 now.
175 just as trying to save your life.
185, yeah. And we all know that cyclists don't go tearing down footpaths at 40k an hour.
No. And I guess and adding to that, some of the semi-craziness is the reality that where there is a certain amount of bike infrastructure, it is labelled as being both cyclist and pedestrian, but then you sort of get to the end of that, or you get to a path that doesn't have signage or whatever, and it becomes a less tolerant experience.
What would you do if you had the opportunity to change any law, just one law you would like to change in your area that would make cycling more accessible to the 8 to 80s?
I haven't really thought about that, but I guess if we're just talking about it as just amending, I guess, the ride on footpaths more.
It would make it a lot more easier to get the young ones and the older ones out there, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, there are so many areas within my municipality that people would just say, I don't feel safe, I'm not going to ride.
Has there been a growth in Brimbank with cycling?
I'd like to think so, yeah, and I don't have any statistics on hand, but I mean, by serendipitous and observation, there certainly appears to be a lot more cyclists. So I guess a number might be transient, like particularly road cyclists sort of heading out towards to do airport loops or going out further and whatnot. But even so, I think there's been times where doing a certain amount of campaigning or just chatting to people that you see on bikes. There's a certain amount of people that lost their license, so riding to work. It's easy for me trying to get a bit of exercise or whatnot, but it's still an awful lack of cycling to school or whatever, because it's that whole car culture feeling of not safe and just a severe lack of infrastructure to allow it to be a feeling of safeness to do it.
Why does this happen? Why do councils like to push these pop-up bike lanes and a couple of months later put up more pop-up parking lanes in other places and also allow parking inside the bike lanes?
Well, it's foreign to me to have a council that is actually advocate for cycling, and I think it would be a bit of a foreign statement to say that they're in favour of putting pop-up lanes. I think it was just sort of seemed and sounded to be more of a, oh well, it sounds like a good thing to do, and it was a transient thing. It was always, from what I heard of it, it was always deemed to be a temporary thing, and as soon as lockdowns ended or whatever, it's back to the car culture, and it was only a temporary thing. And we must have the 1 or 2 parking spots, that's much more important, even though we know the evidence that it doesn't count, and we know that one parking spot for a shopper versus how many people just serendipitously ride or walk or whatever to a local shop. But yeah, it's ridiculous. But yeah,
to get on my bike, I've got to get my bike lock. That means I've got to have a key for that. I've got to get this. I've got to get that. I've got to put on my helmet. I've got to do this. Oh, my car. I just grab my keys and I'm gone.
Yeah.
It just.
And it's got to do then also with the experience of encouraging such a thing, because I know like YouTube's where they do the whole Dutch versus Australia kind of experience, and it's that mindset that, oh, I can't carry things on my bike, and oh, it's too hard or it's too far and whatever, and the videos speak for themselves, and it's got to do with that element of allowing a presence to get there. I know for a while attempted like banging my head against a brick wall to allow for a level of infrastructure to even make it accessible to get by bike to a certain large shopping centre in the west. And you advocate, and there may be a token hoop there or whatever, but to try and spell out how unsafe is it to attempt to even walk through the car park, let alone making a bike lane, a protected bike lane, to link with a local bike path. And it's a no-brainer, but it's just not listened to too hard, because it's at the mercy of the shopping centre. It's outside of council, it's outside of Vic Roads or local council to allow or make that kind of level of.
Well, Graeme, I think we can leave it there.
Okay.
So thanks everyone for coming along. Thank Graeme for coming along. It is a bit strange having such a big distance between us, but if you're ready to tell your story, we do want to hear what your story is. We want to know what your experiences are on the bike, off the bike, politics. We're open to anything, and good coffee as well. So let us know what you want to do. If you want to come and have a chat with us, we're more than happy to indulge with you. And remember, whatever you do out there, stay informed.